Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Network TV. We're the only Muslim television in North America coming to you from Galaxy 19 satellite, as well as Amazon Fire TV and Roku TV. And within a week or so, we'll be on Apple TV as well. And you're listening to us on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Today, we'll be talking at the Mujahid Talks show about something very important for the Muslim community, and that is Eid. Eid has a three letters, E-I-D, but it spells a lot of flowers and fireworks and barbecues and lot of happiness. Eid is like a Christmas for Muslim community, except it has nothing to do with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But he instituted it at the end of the Ramadan. When we fast, we think of other, we consume less because we are fasting, and we share more with others, and we think to develop a better character of God consciousness. So we become more thankful to him. We connect to God's teachings in the Quran. And when 30 days of fasting from dawn to dusk, when it's over, we party like crazy. And I personally consume a whole lot of samosas and falafels and baklavas and cheesecakes and bean pies and whole lot of things which are there to be enjoyed. But just like Ramadan had been during the pandemic, Eid is bound to be during the pandemic. So this is a very new experience. None of us have done Eid. Eid prayers don't even take place in a mosque. They all Muslim, they close down their mosque, gather in very large places. In North America, there are gatherings of 30, 50,000 people who come together. Of course, if weather is bad, people go in the mosque and pray there. But how we're going to do this? And that's the question which we'll be exploring today. And with us are amazing people. We have Gregory Abdullah Mitchell. He's a practicing attorney in the state of Illinois in the United States. And he's also the chairperson of Leadership Development Institute, and he serves as the executive director of the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago, CIOGC. This is the major organization which guides Muslim community. Welcome to Muslim Network Television, Brother Abdullah Mitchell. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, praise be to God. I'm doing well, and you?
Well, I'm doing excellent. I feel more creative, more productive, thinking of many ideas, and that's how we decided to launch Muslim television. This is the first, this is the only one for Muslims in USA and Canada, broadcasting 24 hours, 7 days a week. So
I,
you're on the sixth day of our broadcast. So you're
yeah, I didn't realize I was as privileged as I am, but clearly this is a great moment for the Muslim community to begin to share with the world at large, uh, 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 getting insights on how we do things, and particularly today's program focusing in on coming to the end of Ramadan. We're reaching midpoint now and heading towards, let's say, the end of this holy month. And as you mentioned in your opening remarks, now to focus in on how do we celebrate Eid? It's going to be a challenge this year.
So how the Muslim leadership, I mean, Council of Islamic Organizations have what, 60 members, and Chicago has close to 400,000 Muslims, which it represents, and it has 125 Friday congregations and has about 30 plus day schools and 50 or so weekend schools. And with so many Muslims stuck in their homes, how you plan to celebrate? I mean, Trump is already worried that Easter was not good and Muslim might do it differently. So he's tweeting in his Islamophobic tweets about that. So what is the leadership thinking on these issues?
Well, the this is a challenging predicament or situation for the leadership of Greater Chicago area. This past Saturday, we held a meeting of all the leadership of the mosques and schools to discuss this very thing. More particularly, do we even open up now in at this particular point in time? One thing I think that is important to emphasize to your audience is that is the consensus of the Muslim community here in Chicago to follow public health directives. It it cannot be a joyous celebration, even though this is for many of us probably one of the more joyous holidays, with being two. But everybody, after coming off a month of fasting, you feel spiritually recharged, and you get to meet people you haven't seen in such a long time. It's let's say reconnecting, rebonding with so many of your family and friends. But this year it's going to be different. In Illinois, where we're situated at, the public health directives from the state and the local municipalities are limiting gatherings to no more than 10. And even when it's 10, we're still obligated to follow social distancing, which means keeping at least 6 feet apart, wearing masks, sanitizing our hands frequently. This kind of goes counter grain to our culture, particularly for Eid. And Eid's a time when we come and embrace each other. We're shoulder to shoulder, foot to foot in Salat. We, as you said, we're enjoying the various foods of different segments of our community. And this is not likely to be present. So it is a challenge. Currently, we as a community have elected to let the masajid remain closed through the Eid, because it's not an assessment. The risk to human life is outweighed by the spiritual benefit that we're going to get. I mean, and even in Islam, one of the basic principles is that if we've lost one Muslim life, it's like losing the whole world. So why would any leader of any community want to subject or carry that burden with them? So right now it is, how do we explore alternatives? And we're looking to things like how we can continue to virtually stream. How can we have activities that engage people, even if it is over the electronically? One program that has been quite successful for us here in Chicago is we've had it's called the tafsir of the Quran. In other words, the study of the Quran, and we've done it for every night during Ramadan. And what it is we've reached out to an imam of a different community each night to make, or imam or a scholar, to make a presentation about an insight, a lesson of Islam, of the Quran. And what that has, it has a bonding effect, because heretofore, most of us, as in most worship communities, we're kind of gravitate just where our masjid is. But this, or mosque, here you get an opportunity to share the wisdom and get the insights of so many 21 different people. And it's been
thinking of making it the virtual sermons on Eid day. Is that the way people are going to worship on Eid? You know, Eid people don't even do normally in mosque. They go in large congregation. And as you mentioned, you know, Eid is standing shoulder to shoulder. And after that, hugging and kissing and shouting and jumping on each other. I have seen it. And in Chicago, the racially divided city, that's one occasion when people come all across and meet sometime once a year or twice a year only. So you're thinking of more of the virtual sermons to take place on Eid day?
Yes. I mean, at this particular point in time, let me say there is still some discussion on that particular point. How could it be expanded And like you said, is oftentimes these Eid celebrations are taken at sometimes at a stadium where as many as 30 to 50,000 people are assembling, or in other public venues. But once again, I think we all need to be cautioned and call to mind that once we violate this social distancing, once we have this close contact, we're dealing with a virus that is contagious. And in our past meeting, some of the medical healthcare professionals mentioned to us what's unique or different about this particular virus is this capacity to spread to so many. Oftentimes, like the SARS, it may be spread 1 to 2, but here it can go up to 5. One infected can infect 5 people.
Unless they are in a party on a beach, as some people unfortunately are doing. And human life is the most precious thing. And I'm happy that Council of Islamic Organization basing its decisions based on the scientific inquiry, not the protest, and our love for praying together. At this moment, I would like to bring in another person to our conversation. And so, is there a form of virtual kissing, by the way, or virtual hugging and
Yeah,
virtual?
let's get a virtual hug.
Right. My granddaughter in a virtual family meeting in Zoom, she tries to grab me on air, and I pretended to grab her. A play which goes on between us. There are many sunnahs of Eid. Eid is not just about worshipping together, which is very important, and listening to sermon, which is very important. I think what we are thinking at about to issue a guideline from Sound Vision is that we are going to have 4 prayers, 4 sermons online. So we'll come online at 9 a.m. People will have glorification of God Almighty, so Talbihat we call it. And after 5 minutes, then there is going to, we will ask people to pray on their own to thank God Almighty at their home together. And then we will have sermon, and we'll repeat that with each time zone at 9 a.m. time. And then at the end, we want everybody, all the people together, to open up their mics and say talbihat. Everybody saying together, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest, as we do. So that's the format we are thinking. But there are many sunnahs of the Eid. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will look for the best possible clothes, and many Muslim buy new clothes for children if they can afford to. And that's why Muslims start exceptional charity throughout the month of Ramadan. They do charity, but before Eid is going to be 23rd and 24th of May. Before that time, people have extra charity which goes to poor Muslims, so they can dress up and they can develop into celebrity mode. But also, taking thorough shower, and perfume is a big thing with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Put perfume on themselves, hug and kiss each other wherever family situation is, and eat something sweet before you get out. But there's no way to get out. But we can go up to that level and maybe get out in our yard and do something there, maybe pray in the yard also. So there are many creative ways. And one of the creative person who is with us is the a person who is manager of content development at Sound Vision, and that is Samana Siddiqui. We also have a director of religious education at Sound Vision, Sister Zaira Eppard. And I will first request our producer if you can bring up both of the sisters, and Abdullah, if you don't mind waiting for us few more minutes as we get back to you.
Nope.
So Samana Siddiqui is the manager of content development at Sound Vision, and she is a professional journalist who have studied journalism in Canada and then blessed America because America needed her. So thank you so much, Samana Siddiqui, for being with us on Mujahid Talks. And Zahira Lynn Eppert is a mother of 6 children and a grandmother, and she's a homeschooler and a graphic designer and a former lobbyist and a labor organizer. But labor organizing is common between you and her. And what is not common is she has been a principal of a school, which was one of the first job offered to me, and I declined to accept, and I provided them another director. And she is now staff at Sound Vision, organizing daily programming Adam's World Club for younger children, on the weekend programming with Colors of Islam Club with Baba Ali and others. Welcome, Sister Zahira, to our show.
Nice to be here.
Now, how parents are going to handle this situation? I'm already, you will not believe how much I'm personally hurting at this moment, just imagining that I won't be able to be with my grandchildren. It just, I physically feel the pain in my, people say in heart, but that's more or less I'm feeling already. Yesterday, me and my wife and my son, three of us together, we sat down planning for the Eid, and whole meeting got disrupted just thinking of this idea that we won't be able to be with our loved one. So how do we start thinking about it? How do we overcome? How we could still be cheerful about a Eid which doesn't look like any Eid which we have ever experienced? So, Sister Zaira, you have been a revert to Islam, so is your husband probably. And one of the articles Samana has written is specifically about those people who become Muslim and they do not have a whole lot of family who is Muslim. How do they deal with the Eid? So you may have some creative ideas there.
There are a number of things I think that we have to focus attention on, especially in this challenging time. And the first one is to just recognize that change is hard. Change is hard at any time. We have to acknowledge the feelings of loss, of separation, in order to move past them, inshallah. And I think that if we keep this very important point in mind in every thought we have, it will help ground us. And that is Allahu Alam. Allah is the best of planners. Whatever Allah has in mind, we're living it today. And that means that we have the capacity to flex and adapt and do the best with the resources that we have in front of us. We have to. We don't have a choice. We're not in control here. And these are good things for Muslims to acknowledge. They're healthy things for Muslims to acknowledge. If we go then to acknowledge feelings, and many of us will have deep feelings this way, even though my family, my birth family doesn't practice Islam. I had tons of friends. I'm a 30-year revert. So I've had tons of friends that we visit on this day. We miss seeing them because we're not praying at the masjid right now. We'll miss seeing them at Eid. But we have to create new traditions. We can celebrate what we've enjoyed in the past. This is very important for children also.
This is also relevant, Sister Zahira. I'm glad you brought up this point, that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he moved to his peace sanctuary in Medina, because him and his people were being tortured in Mecca. So he looked for peace sanctuary, finally found one and established that. In that peace sanctuary, many of their relatives were not there. They were away in Mecca, and they were alone, many of them, and they were extremely poor. And at that time, he instituted a day of celebration, Eid. So we are in a far better situation, at least in America and North America, although many Muslims in poorer countries, and especially where they are facing genocide in China and Burma and now in Kashmir and India, they are in far worse shape. But the situation of Eid coming in a situation when people do not have enough, or they're facing major challenges, that seems to be quite resembling to Prophet's, peace be upon him's time. But still he wanted us to pray, still he wanted us to celebrate, still he wanted to enjoy. And his perfume, I have a collection of perfume, which I get to use only on Fridays and Eid days. So you're saying being thankful, but how to be creative? Give
So
us one tip.
one of the things, I think there are 5 different things we can focus attention on. Number 1 is acknowledging the changes. And in acknowledging the changes, you can also take time to celebrate what has happened in the past. As a family, look back at old pictures, reminisce about what you enjoyed, but plan for what might happen this year that can be special. And think about how to go from it being a social event to a more personal and special event. And
Okay,
so,
so before you move on, planning, I know Samana is very strong in planning. She has written an article about planning. So Samana, you need to come in and share with us why it is so important to plan.
Well, planning helps us, when you have that mindset of planning, when you prepare things before, you can actually do a lot more. And you can, this is because we're in this unique situation, as Sister Zahira was pointing out, it's about creating new traditions. And whenever we want to do something well, we're encountering a new challenge, the more we know, the more we plan, the better we can do it. And I just wanted to give a small example. One thing when I was researching this topic before today's presentation, today's discussion, one example I thought about, I was looking up things like, what are people doing for birthdays and graduations and anniversaries? Because this is something that we can also encourage our own children, because essentially these are all life celebrations, and Eid for us is our life celebration, very important one. So one of the things they suggested, which I thought was a fantastic idea, and Muslims can do this as well, is pre-order all your Eid gifts and have them sent to whichever cousins or nieces or nephews, whoever it is, and then on Eid day, Zoom call and open your gifts together. People are doing this for birthdays, they're doing it for graduations, they're doing it. So that way it becomes a shared experience, even if it's online and we're not, normally we would do this. I know in my family, we gathered together at my in-laws' house, and then everybody, all the cousins would get together and open their gifts together. So we can do this online since we can't meet in person. So it's really, when we plan ahead, we can do these things. Right now, we have enough time to order clothes and order gifts and do these things. If we don't plan, we'll be stuck on Eid day and we'll have less options in front of us. And expanding our options, especially with kids, is very important.
So Sister Zahira, what do you think about this idea?
the planning, you can't overemphasize that. And we're not often good at planning. We're used to having things delivered the next day, so we think about them at the last minute, but that won't work this year. Even Amazon is not delivering like that anymore. And so the clothes that we might be purchasing are purchased from small vendors sometimes. And that is even more difficult to get things in advance. I love the idea of the Zoom meeting where everyone would open presents together. That again, the technology that we have access to can help bridge this distance. And that would be a great way of using it. Imam Mujahid, you were mentioning the fact that we have the luxury of still being in peaceful homes, in safe environments, making decisions to safely distance ourselves, and protect others. But we have to not forget that many people don't live in this environment. Muslims throughout the world are suffering in huge ways. And they always have. And Eid still came, and Ramadan still came. And so, inshallah, we have to do the best with the resources in front of us. And that was going to be my other point, that we have to be sure to maximize the resources in front of us. Not everyone in this challenging time even is employed. So it might be that you're not able to make the purchases that you're used to making. And your children will have to adapt to that too. Sometimes we protect our children from these very basic facts, right? We don't want to worry them. We don't want to stress them out. But you'll have to figure out a way to do it differently if you're in a different financial predicament. So use what you have in front of you. Make things for one another. Use creative writing. Use artistic crafts and other things that may be, or use a coupon. Perhaps you can give your father 5 coupons to wash his car, right? Perhaps you can give your mother 5 coupons for breakfast in bed. Anything that doesn't cost anything but has a sentiment behind it that can connect you to one another.
It seems to be in support of patronizing restaurants, which are suffering also at the same time.
Yeah.
So Samana, what do you think? She mentioned craft, but about Eid decoration ideas, which children and families can get engaged now?
Well, this is, I was reading actually when I was doing the research about birthdays and things like that. This is actually something that people are having trouble finding decorating supplies. So this is an excellent, like Sister Zahira suggested, making your own decorations is a excellent idea. It's cost effective, and there are amazing tutorials to do all kinds of things, ranging from origami, making all kinds of stuff online for free. So making your own decorations, and this will give you kind of an extra edge. It will make it more unique because it's about making this Eid special and unique.
Yes.
One thing, like for example, my 14-year-old did the other day. She wanted to decorate the table for Mother's Day. So she made her own napkin rings out of index cards and colorful masking tape. Like she didn't even use expensive materials. She didn't order from anywhere. She's just a creative kid. So she did it that way, and she set up other things. So encouraging our kids this way is also a benefit because there's a lot of stuff available online. Thinking out of the box is what all this Eid is all about. This Ramadan is all about. So yes, definitely encouraging our kids to do that. And also, I just wanted to say, making things that giving back and sharing with others. I know, like Sister Zahira said, so many people are unemployed at this moment. So making small things like cards and thank you notes to our mail carriers, to if we are in contact with people who are working in hospitals or have neighbors who are medical personnel. Putting up a sign in our window. None of these things cost us more than a trip to a dollar store. Within $5, you can make a beautiful sign. It's all about creativity. It's all about resources that are very easily available. Alhamdulillah, we're living at a time where we have online access to all these free things. And many websites which previously were charging for classes on artistic things are now making them free. So that's what it's all about, giving back.
I think you mentioned so many people are jobless. Actually, this morning I read the report in Bloomberg that 33 million people are jobless. And these are the people who have jobs and who have some support system. But a lot of Muslim community people are self-employed. There are more Muslims who are self-employed, small shops, small stores, restaurants, food trucks and food carts, actually all over Manhattan. Every block there is a Muslim selling halal to rest of America. All those people, so Muslim unemployment rate, I don't have any statistical research, but I'm absolutely sure is far higher. So in that sense, it's a good to remind people to distribute, their fitra or something which is to make everybody celebrate Eid. So instead of waiting until the last minute, it is important that if you have not done it already, do it now. And normally it is about $10, $12 per person in the family. It is better if you can do more. And contact entities who can distribute that to help them. So you had a list of 5 tips, Sister Zahira. You are all listening to Zahira Lynn Eppard as well as Samana Siddiqui, and we are on Mujahid Talk. I'm your host, Imam Malik Mujahid, and you're listening to Muslim Network Television, and we will take a very short break and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Muslim Network Television. You're listening to Mujahid Talks, and with me are the Samana Siddiqui, who is content manager and a professional journalist at Sound Vision, and Zahira Eppard, who is director religious education at Sound Vision. We were thinking of idea to make it creative. Please share with us, Sister Zahira, what other things people need to keep in mind.
So I think food is always central in any of our celebrations. And that is Whether we're Muslim or non-Muslim, food is always central. And so think about how food can be special this year. Now, in many families, certain people make certain foods, the traditional foods. And maybe you can't make the kheer just like your grandmother does, but give it a try. Have your children plan with you here and figure out what it is they'd like to eat on Eid. Maybe even make the food that you're eating a trip around the world. There's a beautiful book. Imam Mujahid will laugh because I always bring in books. There's a beautiful book called Ramadan Around the World by Nada Hassan that talks about the various traditions that go on across the globe. They're all different and unique and special in their own ways. So think about how to be creative this year. Maybe make a dish from all over the world. Maybe let every person in your family make a dish. You could do that in advance, or you could do it on the day of Eid. Remember, you're going to have a whole day to fill, right? And so you don't have to have all the food necessarily ready in advance, because you're not going to be going out and visiting a lot of folks, hopefully, because safety. I agree with the brother earlier. Safety has got to be key here. I live in Maryland, and we are on the same kind of lockdown restrictions as you are in Illinois. And it is very important for Muslims to pay attention to the instructions we're given by health professionals. There may be an inclination for us to do whatever we want.
So you were more on the food preparation, but within that you drop in the word consult children, and you want everybody to cook. So Samana, what you have to say about engaging children in the planning as well as in cooking?
That's absolutely essential. That's part of doing things together is key. And then when kids, we know, for example, a lot of articles about, for example, picky eaters. Children who are picky eaters, they always say, if you want your kid who's a picky eater to eat, get them involved in food preparation. So, doing that helps whenever they feel.
What does it do? It repels them further or bring them in?
It encourages them to eat it because they themselves made it. So, and it's their choice. They're allowed a certain latitude in choosing what they're going to eat or what they're going to make. So
one of my child has this attitude towards food, hardly would like any food, but he loves books. So I took him to the bookstore in the section where there are cookbooks. And we started looking cookbooks, and he got engaged, and we picked up one, purchased it. And now at the home, we're going together on the book, and we started cooking. And in a strange way, his problem got resolved when he was engaged in the cooking process itself.
Right. And that should be for cooking. Any aspect of this Eid celebration this year should be part of it, even planning activities.
Yes.
Discussing with them what they want to do. Not every child is the same. So balancing that if you have more than one child. But definitely involving them in the process is key, because that will get their participation and interest. And it'll make them feel better about that. This is a take charge Eid. This is not just the Eid where my parents drag me to the same places, visit the same people. I'm doing something unique and different. It'll make it even more memorable, inshallah.
And here's something to remember when you give people choices. If every individual in the family has a choice of a food item, or the choice of a game that you play that day, or a choice of a decoration, we have to celebrate that as a unique part of that child, right? We can't be critical of the food because we don't like it ourselves. We can't be critical of the game choice because that wouldn't have been our first choice. And we have to let everyone be their unique selves. And in that, we have, again, an opportunity in this Eid to maybe do something differently than we usually do, right? Take time and be together, just being together with our families. I often think, I reflect on, what are we as Muslims supposed to be learning from this pandemic? Why did Allah bring this to us right at this day and time? And when I think about that, I think about how much time we have available to be with the people we love, right? We are, in my household, my kids are 38 to 17, and we are usually heading in a gazillion different directions. But what we've gotten during this pandemic is quantity time together again. And we actually are enjoying that. Not every minute is great, but we are working through whatever the challenges are, together. And maybe that is the benefit of this entire change for us.
All
Allahu
right.
Alam. Again, Allah is
All
the
right.
perfect
So
way.
let's talk creative ways of making Eid. What else should we think of doing to make Eid? I like that idea of everybody receiving gift and opening it in the Zoom meeting. What else? What else is creative which we could do?
I was gonna, sorry, go ahead, sister.
No, go ahead.
I was actually going to suggest something. I don't know if every masjid can do this, but we decorate the car and just drive to the masjid parking lot, the mosque parking lot. And if there's other families there, you just kind of wave to each other and honk and just do the kind of thing that you would normally do, and just have a sign that says Eid Mubarak in your car or on your car, just so that you can have that kind of a virtual experience, if you will. You're going out, you're going to the masjid, but you're not seeing anybody, you're not going inside, you're maintaining the rules of physical distancing, and as long as you're not disturbing your neighbors, it would be a great way to
that's a good way to bring Brother Abdullah Mitchell back into the conversation. And because this is a great idea to here's a caravan of Eid party in the car. And so can we have Abdullah Mitchell up? He's in the studio. If you could get him online. Brother Abdullah, a great suggestion has come in. Brother Abdullah Mitchell is the Executive Director of the Council of Islamic Organization of Greater Chicago. Sister Samana Siddiqui has this suggestion that what about Muslims after they pray and have sermons, they take their cars, go into the masjid parking lot, and maybe one side is in, one side is out, saying salam and Eid Mubarak to each other while the cars are decorated like they are newly married or something, I guess. What do you think about the idea?
Oh, wow. I mean, clearly that's a very unique way to engage. And any, I think, ideas like that, that's what we need to push down the pipeline, because we do need to find ways to add, or as we say, create a new normal for us. We know this is going to go for a while too, and to the extent that based on what public health officials indicate, the timeline for a vaccination. So things are going to be different. And hey, what the heck? Having a car and a caravan with all kinds of signs, beeping your horn. As long as don't do it late at night, I think it'll be okay.
So what about then you reserving a large, some type of a ground in which cars can go in and sermon is through the screen there, and people just pray next to their car, maintaining all the etiquettes of it. Think about that.
They have to think about it, but there's a lot of, now you're asking me to put on a logistical hat, and there's some logistics there that make it a challenge. We don't want Eid to be a work day. We want it to be a day of celebration.
that's
yes. One thing I wanted to say, I was reading about how drive-in movie theaters are actually making a comeback because people can't go to the traditional movie theater. So if we could have a screen with a khutbah and everybody just drives up, the sermon is being offered there, maybe we could do it.
That might be something to put in the hip pocket for Eid al-Adha. We have seen these drive-by or considered use of the cars, even in janazah prayers. In my community, for brothers or sisters who have died, sometimes large numbers of people have gathered in their cars when they couldn't pray together or couldn't be more than 10 in the gathering to pray the janazah. They still felt like they were present. We could consider things like that, but in my community, what ends up happening is and this is on a normal Eid, there are a number of people that only visit the masjid on that day, and so they may not get the communications that we'd have to give to people about cautioning them, please don't get out of your car, right? We still have to observe the safety concerns. So there are a lot of logistics. I agree with you, brother, about that. That would have to be taken into account. But here's another thought. If you're not going to the masjid,
we will take a short break and hold that thought.
Okay.
And since Sister Samana have to leave, if you have a couple of other thoughts, you can share, and then we'll take a break in which we'll continue the conversation with the rest of the two. You have something else, Samana, to share?
Just two things I wanted to suggest. We can go outside to a park, a nature preserve. It's actually encouraged for us to get exercise during during our quarantine. So please take advantage. I would encourage families, especially with young kids, they want to run around and be in, as long as you're maintaining social distancing or physical distancing and you're keeping yourself away from others. Just, exploring a new park, a new state park, a new nature preserve, doing that on Eid Day would be great for everyone if the weather is good. And then the second thing I just wanted to suggest was that I know this television network is going to be doing an Eid program. So looking out for those Eid programs with songs, with comedy skits and things like that, watching those as well builds a community spirit. So it's not just my family is celebrating Eid in quarantine this way, but I'm part of a global situation where I'm part of a global community, which we are, and we're all in the same boat. So, and we're celebrating it together. So that will give that sort of a Muslim community feeling on a wider collective level by doing that. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to Muslim Network Television on Galaxy 19, as well as Amazon Fire and Roku, and pretty soon on Apple TV. We'll be right back after these messages. Brother Abdullah, you need to come up. Brother Abdullah, you need to maintain the height as we come back. Okay, yeah, this is good. This is good. Slightly up will be better. Well, thank you so much. Welcome back to Muslim Network Television. I was about to say welcome back to Radio Islam because I have been doing that for 18 years, but Radio Islam WCV 1450 AM in Chicago now has merged into Muslim Network Television. So we are here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Galaxy 19 through satellite in USA, Canada, and entirety of Mexico. We are also available on Roku. We are there on Amazon Fire TV. In a week or so, we'll be on Apple TV as well. You can find it on Facebook as well as on YouTube. Well, thank you so much, Zahra Eppert, to be with us, and Abdullah Mitchell to be with us on this show, Mujahid Talks. And Mujahid Talks, but Mujahid listens as well. So share with us some more creative idea, and please don't talk about the pandemic. Give me some good ideas, some crazy ideas, which are safe.
So we were talking about the possibility of folks driving to the masjid to celebrate. Remember, you can do something short of that by driving to a family member's home and doing the same thing. Maybe in your family, you all live in a general area, and you're still not going to be able to get together. But if there is an elderly family member, maybe everyone could get in their car with signs and drive past the home of that elderly person's family member. That happens. My mother celebrated her 86th birthday the other day. All my sisters that live close to her did the same thing. They got in on all their cars. They surprised her with the drive-by signs, food, the whole shebang, keeping social distance, but making it what she thought was going to be a very lonely day, very special for her. And we could use those same kinds of things. I think you have already mentioned that Sound Vision has its own plan for programming on the day of Eid, and we will be part of that. Our Adams World Club and our Colors of Islam Club hosts, and hopefully our children will also be part of that too. Did you want me to keep going?
Let's do a little bit more on that, on the programming on May 23rd and May 24th. We'll have amazing programming. We will have songs and singers. We have comedy and comedians, and we will have 4 sermons for 9 a.m. for each time zone in North America, and special programming which Sister Zahra puts together, Colors of Islam Club and Adams World Club. And there are going to be songs which are specific to Eid. So on 23rd, so whatever you're doing, Don't waste too much time, screen time. Spend more time with each other. But whenever you feel like a screen time, tune it to Galaxy 19 Muslim Network Television or go muslimnetwork.tv. That is muslimnetwork.tv, and you will have special Eid programming. So please continue, Zahira.
So the other thing that could be special in your community is that many masjids gather toys or gifts for families who are less fortunate. And that's something that you can plan to do as a family as well. Make a donation of toys or gifts. Make a donation to a local food bank or something like that, so that part of the day is also about giving to those less fortunate. That can be a very meaningful activity for children. And if the seed is planted in a child's mind very early to notice need around them, to take a responsibility for that need around them, then this will be, inshallah, a lifelong love of service. And don't we need that more in the Muslim community, inshallah?
All right. The
I was
Muslim
just going to
community
say, I would
known
like
for
to
charity, but need to be known.
recruit all those newly trained young people, because the need is great.
Yes, very much so. The last thing, I'm not sure exactly how much time we have left, but the last thing I wanted to talk about was leaning in with your whole self. A parent will not be able to convince a child that this is a fun day if they can't have fun themselves, right? And so kids see through a facade. Whatever we are trying to show, they are very intuitive. And so if you're caring about your whole family experience, the first thing you need to be able to do is lean in with your whole self. That means adjust your sights and expectations. Identify what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. Don't try to do something that is outside of your means, spending wise or creativity wise. Just appreciate the unique things we bring to the table as individuals. Allah has graced us with that. Each and every one of us has strengths and weaknesses. Hopefully as a family, we're better when the collective parts come together. As a community, we're better when the collective parts come together.
So collective part is what Abdullah Mitchell leads in Chicago. Muslims are united here under the Council of Islamic Organization of Greater Chicago. So Brother Abdullah Mitchell, how your Eid is going to be? Tell us a little bit about it, because we're just wrapping it up. So a couple of minutes for you, a couple of minutes for Sister Zahira, and this show is going to go around, and we are looking for people to get ideas from you. So you talked about being careful during the time. Don't let your guards down. But what is it which you think you could do?
Well, I'm going to go a little old school, old fashioned. And I think Sister Zahra already referred to it. This is an opportunity, a time for us to really embrace and spend time with our family. Too often our days are spent before an electronic tube, whether it's a laptop or surfing the internet, streaming. But it is an opportunity for us to be appreciative and be grateful for the blessings we have within our own household. That in and of itself, we shouldn't belittle that as a great way to celebrate, whether it's our spouse, our children, our grandchildren, our parents, uncles and aunts, however that scope of people that come together on the Eid. We should take this time to be thankful and grateful for that, as well as thankful to our Creator for permitting us to even be and to enjoy this particular moment. Now, it's not like, once again, I guess, admonishing us all to think it's not the fact that we've got the most expensive new electronic toy or something like that. Is taking a moment to appreciate the personal relationships that really form the foundation of our lives. I think that's what I would share with your audience. And I'll leave all those creative things to Sister Samana and Sister Zahra. They're much more better at it than me.
Okay. So, Sister Zaira, take a minute to conclude, please.
So I did talk about 5 different things that I thought that families should think about, just acknowledging the change so that the feelings are front and center, acknowledged before you start trying to formulate new traditions, making sure you're planning in advance, taking the time to do that. And it's not too soon to do that. You have to do that now. Again, maximizing the resources in front of you. Don't try to overspend here. Overspending would be very dangerous in this situation where jobs are uncertain. Making sure that you embrace new traditions, have children be a part of those traditions, and then leaning in with your whole self. I wanted to also take a minute to remind all of us that there are people that don't have the benefit of family around them now, that live by themselves, or that may be converts in a family of people who are not Muslims. And so doing any of the things we've talked about completely by yourself is going to be another type of challenge. All of us, though, can reach out to those folks. We may know folks in that predicament. We can find out from the imams in our community if there are new converts in the community and try to, again, make that special. You can send cards to people. Let's help the post office. The post office is in huge danger right now. Be making cards now, sending those cards now, and that's another way of, again, making connections. But connections are the key. And we have the capacity to figure out how to make them by utilizing what we've done in the past and creating new strategies.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Zahra and Abdullah Mitchell. Eid is when Muslims celebrate end of Ramadan, and you have been listening to Mujahid Talks show at Muslim Network Television. We are here 24/7 on Galaxy 19, as well as Amazon Fire TV and Roku and Facebook and YouTube, pretty soon on Apple TV as well. So thank you so much for listening to show. I hope you will take these ideas, sit down in the family gathering and plan together. I would say happy Eid. And when you're saying Eid, remember God Almighty. He controls the world, we don't. This is our test. So remember to put your heart and your soul when you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Say it as many times as you like. Say it with the family setting. Say it if you're set up in the car, and keep enjoying. Thank you so much.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.